All right. Well, finally, we're going to take a look at William Jackson III from the Bengals. The Bengals have not been good enough over the last 2 years for people to take note of how good William Jackson is. He had an incredible year, and I believe a historic year by PFF standards last year. PFF has been in love with this guy for a while. Uh, Started off a little slow, oddly enough, when the Bengals were playing well at the beginning of the year. Jackson was not playing at his best, but he has really stepped it up, in the end of the year here, despite the fact that the team has struggled quite a bit. If you like what you're listening to, what you hear, the videos you're seeing here, be sure to subscribe. You can also follow me at Coach Minnick on Twitter, at Coach Minnick on Instagram. That is listed below in the description. Twitter's the best place to follow me. I've got all my content in there, from SB Nation, Cincy Jungle, The Grueling Truth, and a likely to be growing pretty soon on some of that. Have stuff coming up on the NFL draft. I'll be featuring the top corners and safeties in the NFL draft, and really looking in depth at the top defensive backs in this year's draft. So if you like DB breakdowns, make sure you stay tuned for that stuff. All right, but here we're going to see William Jackson in the Bengals game, week 14 against the Los Angeles Chargers. Had to think about that one to say it. Still sounds weird. All right, so we're going to check out Jackson at the bottom of the screen. He is number 22. All right, he's got some help inside here. Does a pretty good job of staying with it. He's getting out-bodied, out-muscled a little bit by this guy, but doesn't get completely turned off of it. Tough transition, coming off that. Obviously, he's not able to break with him, but he does have some help inside, and he kind of rallies back, fights back to get into decent position there. A little bit later in the drive. Bottom of the screen once again. All right, so even though this crack never takes place, this is essentially a crack replace, and a good job in run defense here. Receiver looks to come down. All right, so Jackson's looking to the inside, waiting for this thing to bounce out. It does. Eckler bounces out to the outside, and at first, Jackson actually kind of overplays it. He's playing it a little bit too wide, but he's athletic enough to come back, and as Eckler looks to cut back inside of him. It's a tough name to say, too. As he looks to cut back inside of him, he makes a good break on it. We're going to see from this side angle, too. You get a good look at his athletic ability here. All right. He was kind of lean to the outside, too. Did a good job of adjusting and coming back into that. We'll look a little bit later here in the quarter. Once again, bottom of the screen. We'll check out the coverage here. So this is much better. See, this receiver doesn't push off like the previous one did. Really like trying to use his length and his strength against him. He just kind of lean into him a little bit. All right. But because of that, Jackson's able to adjust. All right, we'll see right away at the beginning. We'll start from the very beginning here. All right, this receiver is going to show an outside release. He shows that outside release. Jackson's patient with it, starts to turn his hips. He's able to flip his hips back around. And I want you to notice how he brings that outside hand as he's coming back around. That helps him to open up his hips, swing his hips back around and get back into position. All right, now he's on him like glue. That cut takes place. Look at Jackson's hips get low. He breaks inside with him. All right. So that's a good job there by Jackson. Seeing a lot of things I like on that particular rep. All right. Running well with it in cover one. Pulls away a little bit at the end. All right, we got to remember he's got help inside from his free safety, Jesse Bates, another guy who's not getting talked about enough because the Bengals aren't good enough for him to get talked about enough. But does a good job coming in, not starting in a great position because he's adjusting, with this motion to come up as Darquarus Denard leaves, engages, right, gets his hand right on that, and then see now what I don't love is it starts to create some separation here with the receiver horizontally. That's where it comes first, and then it starts to go vertical. Again, good thing he's got. As this starts to happen, good thing he's got some safety help over the top there. So I don't love that, but all in all, not too bad. Just need to make sure we stay with it at the very end there. Towards the end of the quarter now, a couple plays later, actually. All right, bottom of the screen. Give me a little bit of a different look here. All right, so it is actually a cover 2 look. Safety flies out at the end. All right, very nice disciplined disguise here. So we're going to see he's looking to get a jam. All right, and then he lets that receiver go. Gets the jam. All right, and then looks to get back into the flat area. Now, when you're playing cover 2, right, you want to get a jam and then you want to get your eyes inside. There was no number 2 receiver on this side. All right, based on the formation, we've got one receiver, and then technically the number 2 on the side would actually be the back. That's the quickest threat to get out into the flat outside of this receiver. But the threat we're going to get really is going to be coming from the other side where we've got a tight end, 2 receivers. All right, so he's going to get this jam. All right, and then we've got the crosser coming across. All right, he lowers down, he sits down on that. So that's a good job there in cover 2. A little bit of a different look, not really the Bengals base look, but he shows that he can play well in that look as well. All right, so they should probably be doing some more with him, utilize all of his talents. We'll go into the second quarter now. Get a little snarky towards the Bengals at this point of the year, if you hadn't noticed. All right, so top of the screen, and we get a screen, but they forgot to block him. So I don't know what they're really thinking here. I mean, I guess that tackle is supposed to get to him. Don't know why they think that tackle's that fast, but running this screenplay into a press coverage with the blocker being somebody who's not fast and it's that far away, pretty stupid. I think Anthony Lynn's a good coach. I think the Chargers have been doing a good job of stuff all year. This is a pretty horrendous call here, though. So, hey, Jackson's playing tight. He sees that. He breaks, and he tackles it for no gain. Kind of a best-case scenario for the Chargers. I mean, they're lucky he didn't go for a pick or something like that, which obviously would have been a touchdown. Very nice play. Up at the top of the screen, you're going to get a stop route here. All right, so it looks like a vertical route, but he's throwing it on the back shoulder. They're not really trying to press it; they're trying to get the first down. And this is a 3rd and 12 play. Backed up here. Jackson does a good job of staying on top of things, but he doesn't always get a good read or anticipate the cuts, especially on these stop routes when receivers are pressing it vertically. So I'm going to slow it down here a little bit. You see a good transition, gets into a good spot with him. But now he's not getting, he gets that read, but he doesn't play the ball through with his hands. You can kind of see how he sees the receiver turn, his hips sink a little bit, sees receiver turn, hips sink, adjust. Now he's got to come through his hands with that right hand, get that hand on the ball, and really knock that thing out. This isn't a completion. for the record. So this this goes on the stat sheet as a positive for the Bengals. But I really want to see him just knock that ball out and remove any doubt of what happened on this play. Just to go back to the very beginning, like I said, it was a good transition. I don't think we really looked at it quite enough, right? Real patient. As that transition comes, he's right there on his hip, all right? Right there on his hips, maybe just running a little bit ahead of him. You'd like to see him just a touch behind so he can play that cutback a little bit better. There's a point. There's a point where you want to be behind, and then when it clearly is a vertical route, you get to the point where you can run side by side. But that's a pretty deep point, especially in the NFL. They run some deep comebacks, so you don't want to jump the gun on that. We're going to go into the third quarter now and look at a few more plays here. A little bit later in the third quarter, actually. So here you're going to see him at the top of the screen. If my internet will cooperate.